the Amazing Women Speak podcast, inspiring and motivating every Black woman to own, honor, and execute her amazing, individually and collectively, as it was established at birth.
Good evening, and welcome to Amazing Women Speak. I'm Crystal Gunn, and again, excited to be here for another great episode. Had a little technical difficulties going on today, but that's okay. That must mean it's really going to be some good information shared. So, welcome. We're starting a little late, but better late than never. Thank you all for tapping in, and do me a quick favor. Click the share button to share this to your timeline so friends, families, followers, and supporters can be blessed by this as well. You can't pour from an empty cup. You have to take care of you first. You have to unplug. And the list goes on and on and on with sayings of the importance of self-care. But is a self-care day enough? Is a massage enough? Is a quick weekend getaway enough? Let's get down to the truth behind self-care, why it's so important, and what happens if you don't do it. It's time to talk about it. But before we do, Michelle, as always, thank you for saying yes to Amazing Women Speak and sharing your amazing with all of us. How are you today?
Good evening. Tech didn't want me to be great, but I'll be great anyway. We welcome you all to another amazing episode. As always, it is my honor to share this space with you. Because we're late, I'm going to dismiss with all of the formalities and get right into this because it is the fastest hour of your day and technology tried to steal 13 minutes of it from us. We won't have it. We're going to have a rich conversation in the time that we have. God's gift will not be denied in this moment. Excited to be here with you. Let's go ahead and invite our guest in, get to know a little bit about her, and launch deep into this conversation. Come on in.
Hello.
How are you, Erica?
Good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the extension of the opportunity from you and Crystal. I really am enamored by the amount of strength and dedication that you all show to women. I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So before we dive into this conversation, Erica, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. So I am a mental health therapist. I've been a mental health therapist a little bit over 19 and a half years. Prior to that, I worked in education as well as cancer genetics and infant mortality. All three of those things for me were instruments for me to get to being a therapist. I remember as being as young as 9 or 10 and adults telling me personal information that was amazing to me, but I've always had this draw to people and people drawn to me. And I think those gifts were given to me to help advocate and help for others. For me, therapy is just not therapy, it's advocacy. And a lot of times we don't have that support, especially as African-American women. We carry this cape with honor and really it's heavy. And sometimes we need someone to hold it with us so that I feel like that's my purpose and what I'm here for.
Well, thank you for being obedient to your assignment. There's
you.
Not enough of us paying attention, right? Like we do the things that we enjoy, but don't pay attention to the assignment. So thank you for that. Again, fastest hour of our day. We do nothing in shallow waters. I want to dive in deep right out of the gate.
Okay.
Erica, why is it that we believe the one-day fix is all we deserve?
Unfortunately, society has moved us into this microwave ideal, right? We think that everything has to be fast and quick and I have to squeeze it in. You can't squeeze life in. You're squeezing it out, right? And I hear a lot of people say, oh, you only live one day. No, you only die once. You live every day. And what happens is that we forget that our daily expression of care is necessary. It's not maybe I'll get to it. And what I hear is a lot of people say, "Oh, I took a self-care day. I went and got a massage. I went and got my toes polished." Well, that's maintenance. That's not self-care,
Mm.
right?
Ouch.
Mm-hmm.
Come
Right.
on.
So if we look at men, they think getting a haircut is part of their maintenance. They don't think that that's self-care. And we have gotten to this place of thinking, "Oh, I went and got my hair done, or I went and got a pedicure, and that's self-care." That's your self-maintenance. That's to maintain your appearance of who you are. Your self-care is when you think about your meditation, allowing yourself to pray, allowing yourself to take intentional moments out to exercise, make sure you're eating right, sleeping right, because the mind and body is a true connection. If you begin to or continue to allow yourself to do the minimum, your body will activate in the minimum realm. And we're not made for that. We're made for excellence, right? So, as we look at maintenance versus self care, there are two different genres of life. Me getting my hair done is because that's what I choose to do to look well and to have a great appearance. But me maintaining my ability to get up in the morning 15 minutes to have time with my prayer life or to exercise or to write down or reflect how the rest of my week went or will go, right? Sometimes we write down what happened in the past, but we forget that we can write down what we want in the future. That is just as important as living from yesterday, is just as well as planning for tomorrow. So, taking care of you in self care is not just physical, it's mental, it's
So you really
spiritual.
have flipped
It's
this.
like about
Yeah, you have flipped this thing about self-care on its head.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have completely flipped it on its head, right? Like when I said ouch, right? Like I'm guilty of saying, right? Like I'm gonna go get massage. That is my self-care day, right? Like that's how I'm going to practice self-care.
Mhm.
And I really love that you're inviting us to dig deeper, right? Like there's a difference between self-care and maintenance. So again, I just have to pause
Okay.
to really lift up how our guests are always the right people for that moment, right? Like, again, I have to remind our audience, and we ask you to join us in the chat, that the guest never gets my question ahead of
Mm-mm.
time. And the way that I teed up and you hit this thing out of the park, out of
Out
the
the park.
gate,
Mm-hmm.
tells me once
Mm-hmm.
again, right? Right person for the right conversation, and you're going to elevate us, right? I certainly would rather see somebody do the massage than nothing else at all. And
Absolutely.
let's go higher. And I really appreciate you again flipping that on its head and challenging us to think differently by what we mean when we say self-care and what that actually looks like. Because that is life-giving. So thank you
You're
for
welcome.
sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you. And just like you said, Michelle, it is very important. I'm not saying by any means not to get your hair done, not to get your nails
For
done, not
sure.
to get a massage.
For
But I'm
sure.
also saying including mantras of I will increase my water consumption, right? That's giving yourself self-care. Your maintenance gives you the ability by Webster, the process of maintaining or preserving someone or something. That's preservation.
Mm,
Maintenance is to help you preserve. Self-care is to help you continue growing,
wow.
right? So I want us to think about I'm preserving myself with my maintenance, but as I grow, what am I elevating to? How am I evolving? What's my next step? Right? That's self care
Yeah,
because we
my
can
hair's
all
cute, but I'm not thinking any different. My
Mm.
nails are done, but I'm not processing. I love it. I absolutely love it.
my nails are done, but I'm still going home drinking a glass of wine because I'm lonely or I'm sad or I'm not happy with where I am in life. Those are the things that we need for self care. Those when we use those words thankful and grateful and appreciative. Those are part of your self care, is aligning yourself with words that can push you into the next revolution of yourself.
Yeah. When you know better, you do better, right? And like I said,
No, when you know better, you have the choice to do better.
true story.
Yeah,
True
yeah, yeah.
story. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I was saying that, right? Because I've been guilty of one who does physical coaching and invites folks to think about self-care in the way that I brought into the room, right? Go get the massage, right? So the idea that, again, when I know better, I'm choosing to do better, and my message will now be different, wanting to invite folks to take it to the next level. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, now we got to hear about that on coaching. So, I mean, on physical.
Yes,
You know
you
what I mean?
do.
Now yeah.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I need that one.
Thank you, Erica. My clients thank Erica because it's coming.
Because it's coming, y'all. It's coming.
I need that one. And like you said, Michelle, it is nothing. I still encourage people because what you're doing is as a massage, it's not just relaxing, it's physical release. You're literally helping release fluid from your lymphatic system, which is when it's stuck. It doesn't allow your system to work optimally. That's why it's maintenance. When I take my car in for an oil change, I'm not giving it something extra. I need to get that oil change for my car to continue functioning, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's maintenance. But if I go get a cute sticker and put inside my vehicle that says, I'm enough, breathe.
Come on,
while
Erica.
you're on the lodge, that's a little self-care.
So we're at the grown-up table again today, Michelle. So I have a question that I typically don't ask.
Okay.
So when we get guests on the show, we've come up with topics, right? And I will send the list of topics to potential guests. And I always say, find the topic that speaks to your soul. Why did you choose this topic?
Because I'm where we just talked about. I'm going to get a massage. I'm going to get my nails done. I'm going on a weekend getaway. Love traveling. It's my love language. But I realized I was traveling and still not where I wanted to be. I was getting a massage and still could go home and was stressed about my staff. I was right where I know, and I don't pull everyone into spirituality, but for me, it says in the word, faith without work is dead, right? So much so I believe it. I have it tattooed on my wrist because for me, doing the work is not just, okay, I'm gonna go get my nails done. Doing the work is sitting with yourself for an hour, reading and writing about yourself. What do I want for the rest of my life? What is this going to look like? What can I change? What choices can I make? What am I going to interject in the world so people can remember Erica Kelly, right? So for me, it's about my self-care is making sure I'm emotionally and physically safe, right? I would go get my nails done, but as we talked about in a prior episode, I still had a heart incident. Nails was fabulous.
Right.
Right? Hair was just braided 2 weeks before my heart attack, but I still had a heart attack. So part of that was me being in tune with, and what was helpful was I was in tune enough with my body to advocate for myself. That's self-care, advocacy for yourself. Stop allowing people to say things to you that you don't feel is right.
Right. So to get in tune, right? So let's invite some strategy into the conversation to get in tune, to do some self-reflection. We're often afraid of what's underneath that, right? What are some of the strategies that allows us to dig deeper? To do
one is turn off the screen. Just sit still without your phone, without your mate, without outside distractions, without the television. Sit still in a room with yourself for 5 minutes and figure out what can I do for myself in this 5 minutes. Can I just focus on my breathing? Am I breathing appropriately? Do I feel stressed? Why do I feel stressed today anyway? Self-reflection, journaling, right? Having positive conversations, having interactions with other people, socialization, positive socialization. Me going to the club, having a drink with my friend, that's cool. But when I sit down with my friend and explain to her, you know what, I'm having difficulty thinking about what I want to do strategically in my next business aspiration. That's self-care because I'm working on what my thoughts are and my movements. So making sure that you are doing some yoga, doing some deep breaths, just sit still. Many of us have difficulty turning off outside distractions and sitting still with ourselves. And I don't mean, and I'm a very literal person, I don't mean go to the toilet and that's your me time. No, right? I mean, sit in a chair in somewhere that's comfortable. If it's your living room, your backyard, the park, the beach, but somewhere isolative where you can sit and just focus on you, not your children, not your family, not your job. You owe yourself 5 minutes a day to consider you.
Right. So you talked about at the beginning, right, like socialization, and you talked about the cape, right? And right, like Black women, we have been socialized that we have to do all of the things, right? And we find, oddly, a sense of peace in chaos, right? Like if there's always something going, that's how we feel like we are accomplishing a thing. And when I say we, I mean me, right? Like when I lay down at night, I have to have background noise. Otherwise, my thoughts will get me running and I won't rest, right? So I need something just mundane in the background that's going to help me not center my thoughts. If I go to silence, right, like I will be wide awake because I have been socialized and conditioned so much that it's in me, in my fiber of my being, to not to be able to rest at night, right? Like I can sit in silence during the day, but when it's time that my body needs sleep, I need the chaos to keep my thoughts out. And I really appreciate you, right? Like start with 5 minutes, Michelle. Right? Like before,
Just 5 minutes.
right? Like before I can coach and tell anybody a conversation, I have to first try it on myself. So I appreciate this whole conversation for me.
So I recently found the Balance app. And at some point, I'm going to put the link in the comments because you can get it right now for free. But it's like guided meditation, right? And I have a hard time with just me sitting somewhere trying to meditate, not do the reflective, but just sitting trying to meditate. And so you have an option between a guy and a woman. Get the guy, he has a really nice voice, right? But it's like 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, this thing is going to be 20 minutes long. I'm not going to be able to. But one of the things that he talked about was it's okay if your mind starts to wander, just bring it back. And it's been helpful because I'm that way too. I can't turn the brain off. So every day, I have to quit working by a certain period of time in order to give not only my brain an opportunity to turn off, but my body an opportunity to turn off, because my body is going as well. And it's and so that doing that Balance app in that 5 to 7 or 5 to 8 minute thing at night has helped some. I'm getting better, but it has helped some. But how come we can't turn off?
Because we're not in a place of peace. We're not consistently making sure that we are okay. We check on mom. Let me call my baby and make sure she okay, he okay. Let me check on who's checking on you. And before you can worry about friends, oh, my friends don't call me enough, are you checking in with yourself? So one of the things that you said is tremendous. My body won't shut down. What controls your body, Crystal?
My mind.
So that's what's not at rest. Your body is just reacting to what is told by the mind. So as you sit and make sure, and it's difficult. It's not an easy state. But what I love that you just said is that don't give up. Because you only make it for 1 minute the first night doesn't mean, oh, I'm not trying this again. This is some crap. I'm not doing this. Right. It doesn't mean that. And when we've been socialized to wear this cape, it's because we were raised out of struggle and survival, not out of living. Right? When you have to survive, I got to make sure my baby eat. I got to make sure the food is on the table. I got to graduate. I got to do these things. But that's because we're trying to make sure it happens, not because we're enjoying the process.
Right. So the ideal of surviving and living has gotten so interwoven, right? Like we can't see the difference. How do we begin to pull those threads apart?
Looking at and simply, I'm a big proponent of writing lists,
Okay.
right? I write down an action and then why.
Hmm.
Whenever you challenge yourself with a why, you get to think and control where the action started, right? For instance, Michelle, if you came to me and said, "Hey, I pop gum, and I've been popping gum since I was 40, and that's just what I do. I'm not changing it." And I say, "Okay, Michelle, so tell me, why do you pop gum?" You probably don't know right away.
Right. Right.
It's going to take you a minute to
Right.
sit and say, "Well, damn, why do I pop gum? When did I first?" And I may ask you a follow-up question. What age do you remember starting to pop your gum? Oh, well, I was in middle school. And all my friends in middle school did it. And I wanted to be cool. So fitting in is important to you, or was important to you at that time. Are you still there currently? We have some things that come and follow us, and we take the same luggage to the airport time and time again and want to know why we can't get on the flight because our bags are too heavy. Ma'am, you've reached your 40-pound limit because you're still carrying the same luggage. And it's nothing wrong with having the luggage, it's understanding it. Generally, when we understand the why, we can change the behavior, right? If you understand, and just in that example, if I say, Michelle, well, you're not in middle school anymore, so you don't have to pop the gum. Those girls are gone. You're safe. You're a grown, successful mother, advocate. You give the best ability to teach people how to change their bodies. You're good. And you're like, "Damn, I don't need to pop this gum." We do
Mm.
things so
Mm.
regimentally that we don't even, as a regiment, that we don't even think about what we're doing at times. So that's what I'm challenging us mentally to think about is your self-care challenging you to think differently,
Mm.
right? Am I thinking differently about my relationship with God? Am I thinking differently about my relationship with my family and my friends? What about what I do to myself? When I ask people to give me examples of how they've given themselves grace, it's like a deer in headlights most
Right.
times. What you mean give myself grace?
Right.
Right? So when I just mentioned if you can't do 5 minutes, it's okay for doing 1 minute. Just try. We're not going to be 100% at everything, but at least if you try, you will surprise yourself at times. And it will give you the grace and the motivation to keep trying. Oh, I didn't think I could meditate for 2 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna try 3 minutes next week. It's okay. Give yourself as many tries. We give relationships a try. We know doggone well Mr. has been right for years, but we hang in there, right? But we want to cut ourselves off. I didn't lose that first
Wow.
5 pounds. I give up. You didn't
Right.
give up on Mr., right? You know your son or your daughter didn't potty train in 2 days. You
Right.
didn't give up because the goal was why. I want this baby to be self-sufficient, utilize the restroom, and I don't want to change diapers for the rest of my life. When you ask why, you get purpose. As you get purpose, you get action. Your actions lead you into making changes. But you first have to know why.
Yeah. I love that. Right. 3 letters, so much power. And we, especially Black women, right? Like that's the hardest gig in this world is to wake up every day as a Black woman. And we will go to the ends of the earth to provide, to give comforts to folks that don't deserve it, who would not do the same for you, and don't find it worthy to give to ourselves in that way. Recently had a conversation with a girlfriend, and she was talking about she needed space to be able to show up as her authentic self. She's in this group of friends and doesn't feel like she can show up as her authentic self. And I asked her, "Well, who is that?"
Mm.
She had no answer.
Mhm.
Right? So it very well you may not be in the right circle. And if you
Mhm.
can't answer for yourself what that's supposed to be, what it looks like, who you really are, you are holding somebody accountable for something that you have not yet figured out for yourself. So
And we
that
can't.
I work is so important. So
Yeah.
important.
Michelle, and that's where disappointment comes in and resentment. When we expect
Mhm.
people to do something for us that we haven't done for ourselves, right? I want my friends to know who I am. You should know who I am, but you
Right.
don't know, right? You don't know.
Right. Yeah, I
So
couldn't serve you if I wanted to. Because I don't know. Right. Yeah. You don't even know what you want to be served.
you don't know what you want to be served. So in those moments, I'm not asking, and this is for men and women, right?
Mhm.
You can take care of yourself by understanding who you are and what you need, what you desire, and what you want. Do a self inventory. I ask all clients that I have. My one of my first questions is, "Who are you? Describe to me who you are. Why did you come to therapy?" I came because my mother. We can't change mama. We have to
Hmm.
change you,
Hmm.
right? Your mother's not my client, and we all have things that we wanted differently as we grew up and challenges. More than half of the people that come to therapy because they want somebody else to change, not because they want themselves to change.
Hmm.
And we can't change other people. So it's really about, how do I maintain me, learn me, appreciate, and do I truly love myself, right? So as we talked about, going to get a pedicure is great. During that pedicure, put some headphones on, close your eyes, and think about for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, what is my purpose today? Thank you for getting me through today.
And just today, I love
Just
that.
today, right? We try to plan for, execute, facilitate, leverage, all of these high words, but really we just need why, when, and how. When
Hmm.
you ask those three statements, you get a lot of information for yourself. How did I let myself get caught up in something like this? Why did I let myself? When did I even think this was okay?
Hmm.
Right? When did I have the time to do this when I could have spent the time doing for myself? My mom used to use this adage when I was younger. If you spend all of your time worried about you don't have time worried about other people. Anybody else heard that? It takes all the time in the world to handle your own business. If you handle
And that's
yours,
the truth.
you won't have time to worry about somebody else's. And that is totally true.
But
Right?
do we look at and handle other people's business and talk about other people's business and this that's going on with this celebrity and this that's going on with this individual because we don't want to look at our own stuff?
Absolutely. Sometimes we don't know how. Sometimes we don't have the capacity to do it, to know that we need to do it. So I'm thankful for this platform. So now people can understand you need to do that. There's nothing wrong when you get home and you want to remove the bra, the wig, the lashes, whatever. Also start removing what affected you for that day. What hurt you?
Hmm.
Why did
Hmm.
I why did I allow that? Because you said a very poignant statement about choices. Why did I choose to allow this to affect me today? Why did I understand? How did I get to the point of understanding this as something that I needed to let affect me? Mm-mm. Right? You'll hear people make the statement, "You made me do so and so." And I challenge people all the time, how did they make you do anything?
Right.
Did they move your hand? Did they make you? Right? And it's funny, even with this topic of this coach, and I feel torn with that conversation, but this coach is going to lose his livelihood for a conversation with a young lady that had a choice, that if you felt like this was disrespectful, why didn't you hang up?
Right.
You had a choice to say, "Sir, what? You doing what? Oh no, that's not for me. I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna talk to you later. I can't, this is not for me," right? We have to make choices. And I don't know the full circumstance, and I definitely don't want to make anyone a victim.
Mm-hmm.
But I brought all of that to the forefront to say is, use your choices. You have them. You can choose to be frustrated and get mad because the lady cut you off as you were entering Starbucks, or you can say, you know what, maybe that was I needed to slow down because I was going to miss something that was in my way.
Right.
Right? We have a choice to look at opportunities, front side or back, but you have to determine what works for you, but while giving yourself grace.
One of the things that we also don't talk about enough is in that self discovery, part of that fear is you discovering how amazing you really are and what comes with that, right? And so, because it's going to make you change your friend circles, your job, your relationship, right? Like it has the potential to do that because,
Absolutely.
right? Like, so there's some fear in greatness. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. So part of this, we don't want to dig deep and discover because there's some discovery in I didn't deserve, I right, like I didn't deserve that, I deserve this, and being able to name those things and discover just how dope you really are. And it's going to require you to do some things differently that we would rather hold on to the toxicity than to really acknowledge we deserve that level of, right? Like I'm not worthy of that. I don't deserve to be happy. I don't, and we manifest that. And part of that self discovery, you learn you absolutely do deserve it.
Absolutely. Complacency is a hard weapon, right? Because as you said, and that's one of the things I get when people do call and want to consult about therapists. Well, what are you going to do different? I've been in therapy for 10 years and I've done nothing. I've learned nothing. And I have to say to them, and I'm very, very, very upfront.
Three varies.
Very. Right? Is it that the therapist didn't make you or help you learn anything, or is it that you didn't work hard enough to support yourself?
Right.
I can't change your circumstances and what triggers you and what hurts you. What I can help facilitate is your thinking surrounding what happened. So, as you stated, Michelle, people get into this complacency of, I'm not ready to deal with why I really feel like that because it's going to require me to do extra work. It may require me to stop hanging out with some of my friends because we're not moving and growing and I don't feel elevated in this space. It may take, I've been in this marriage for 30 years and I love him, but I still feel stuck. It's going to encourage you to have some different conversations, right? We typically, as people, we really don't care about or feel good about having difficult conversations. And that's because we've labeled them as difficult. They're not difficult unless you make them difficult. It could be loving. It could be let's hold hands and talk about, baby, you know what? I think I'm changing a little bit and I need your support to help me get there. How can we help one another continue to grow? That's not difficult. That should be loving. But when you feel like, oh, my mate he's not a good listener or he's going to cut me down, or then why do you feel that you can't change that dynamic? We have to uplift. We can't uplift one another before we uplift ourselves, right?
Because I'm terrified on what's on the other end
Right.
of that change.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's work. It's not going to be changed immediately. It may take some time. It may be some things that you can't change. You can't go back and change. But now you have the opportunity to make a choice to do something different, right? So Michelle decided, I'm not chewing my gum. I'm not gonna pop my gum anymore. I don't need to. I realized why I was doing it. I didn't even realize it, right? But during the meantime, mama, auntie, like, girl, you need to stop popping that gum. That's not ladylike. And you like, no, I'm doing it. And you don't even realize, well, why am I doing it? Right? Think about your why. Right? So as we talk about self-care, go more into not only your physical, go into your spiritual, go into your financial, go into your emotional, go into your psychological, go into your physical. Those things can be changed with the right choices, right?
Erica, do you recommend therapy, coaching, some form or whatever that space that people want to call it for everybody? Right, like we used to say, right? Like your car needs a tune-up every 3,000 miles. You can't keep running without the assistance because you don't know all of the parts, right?
Absolutely.
And when you're in your life so deep, sometimes you don't know all of the parts. Is there a recommendation for good mental health that at some point you see someone?
Absolutely. I've heard it's not, I can't see a therapist because I'm Christian. Therapy is for white people. Therapy is for people that have money. Therapy is for anyone on this earth that cares to evaluate and work on themselves. We can't do it all by ourselves, right? I don't care how great I am. I cannot button up my or zip up my dress up my back all the
Right.
time, right? At some point, I might need a little help. It doesn't mean that, oh, I'm too fat. Oh, I don't have enough strength. Oh, I'm not mobile enough. I just may not be able to do it. So, what's wrong with asking for help?
Hmm.
Asking for help is not a weakness, it's a strength. We've been taught that asking for help is a weakness because of generational trauma. As a Black culture, we weren't afforded the opportunity to get help. We were the help,
Mhm.
right? We were the problem solver, the builder, the grower, the cleaner. We weren't afforded the opportunity and the leisure to get help, right? And getting help is not that I'm going to tell you what to do with your life. It might be like, I got all of these balls in this bag. Here, take this, Miss Kelly. You help me organize them. Okay, we can organize them because sometimes it gets to be too much.
Right.
Therapy is for anyone that even if you've ever considered like, dang, maybe I should talk to somebody. Talk to someone. Not your girl, not somebody on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. Somewhere where you can get private, confidential assistance and a listening ear. One of the love languages is words of affirmation. Why that's important is because we all want some level of good job from somewhere. And if you're not giving it to yourself, have someone that you trust that can give it to you as well. Right? It may not be your top tier need, but most everyone, every once in a while, wants to hear, "Oh, you're doing a great job. Well, I'm proud of
Right.
you. You're successful. You're accomplished. You're a great mom. Thank you." I know all three of us on here today are parents, and how great if you remember you first hearing your baby say, "I love you." Right? See that smile, Michelle?
Right.
That's that feeling, right? When you're like, "Oh, yeah, my baby, I did this. I got this baby here, and my baby said, 'I love you, mommy.'" That's one of the best words. And that's great to hear it from someone else, but you can also tell yourself, "I love you." If you think about how many times in your years on earth you've literally looked in the mirror and told yourself, "I love you,"
Mm.
Right.
Hmm.
why not?
Right.
Again, we're expecting people to give us something that we're not giving ourselves. That's self care. That's self
Wow.
care,
That's a word. That's a word.
right? We know Jesus loves us. We know our husbands, our wives, our girlfriends, our cousins, we know everybody else. But when I ask people 99% of the time, they've never looked in the mirror and said, "You know what? I love you. I appreciate you. I'm thankful for me."
So Judy lifted up in the comments. She says, I think when we speak truthfully about our therapeutic journey, it tells others in our community it's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how do you rid the shame that has been associated with therapy?
So, like Judy stated, be honest and
Mm.
transparent and keep doing it. The more we make it a norm, the easier it is, right? When I was coming up, it wasn't normal to have a cell phone. They just came out. Now, if a child doesn't have a cell phone at 3, 4, or 5, you out the loop, baby. What's wrong with you? You broke? You poor? Like your mommy don't love you, right? Like what? At 3, you just potty training, but you know how to turn that iPhone on.
No, I turn
We
that
have to
on.
normalize. It's normal now, right? They're trying to normalize going to the grocery store and not having a cashier. That'll never be normal for me. But they're trying to normalize behaviors. Normalization happens as people agree and continue accepting, giving, or executing steps. Right? So if Judy, thank you, Judy, for being an advocate and sharing with your sphere of influence. If you tell people, hey, you know what, I go to a therapist, girl, it's not bad. You can tell people, we talk about who our GYNs are, right?
I'm a therapist.
Who is your dentist?
And I think it's more our generation, because I hear the younger generation,
For sure.
they talk about it like
Yes, they
it's
do. Yes, they do.
what is part of that with our generation, that what stays in, what happens in this house stays in this house thing. And
Yep, absolutely. We came from a generation, our generation, as well as I know with my aunts and uncles. Oh, we don't talk about problems.
right.
You talking to who about? No, this the family. This stay in the family. Well, why it stays in the family? That's great. But why has cousin been in the basement for 40 years? Do we talk about that?
Mm.
Why is it that when all the little girl cousins come over, you don't want them to go over Uncle Joe's house?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? There's nothing wrong with having confidentiality, but not at the precipice of hurt, pain, strife, and trauma. Right? It's yep. I don't want to have to know all your business. You don't have to tell me your bank account number, your PIN number. But if you're at home and you drink every single night 3 shots just to calm your brain and your relaxation, it's time to talk to someone.
Right.
It's not okay.
Right.
Right? If you have to mute yourself, and I tell this to people all the time, if I can't give you me 100% proof, I don't want to be a mixed drink. I'm not a cocktail. I'm a whole shot. This is it. This is it. Right? Most people are not. Most good drinkers are not going to take top shelf and mix it with some juice.
With some fruit. Yeah, it's not happening.
No, top shelf means you're drinking that straight generally, right? Some people make cocktails and that's fine, but generally when you have something good, I'm not going to take something I value and I care and go run it through the mud or drive over it. Right?
Yeah.
Start treating yourself the same way. We have to value, love, and respect ourselves. And just taking time to say that transcends all of the background fears and disappointments and inability to share our stories with people. If we have continued to have places like this where we can talk and be genuine and confident in who we are and what we represent and how to help one another, we'll be a better place.
Yeah. So you said something, and right, like fastest hour of your day, that has really become popular to talk about. I'm breaking generational curses, right? When we don't even understand what that true generational trauma, right? Because it happened in this house, and we not talking to, right?
Like, you talk about this generation. You want to talk about last one.
Which one? This one right here.
And to break a generational curse, I had a girlfriend of mine who left her marriage and talked about it very publicly on social media and really got attacked by folks about the importance of maintaining that marriage because she needed to break generational curses because parents used to be married for 50 years. You needed to stay in it. And she was like, I'm breaking the generational curse of what was happening behind the closed doors that we never talked about. Absolutely. Right. And so that's the conversation we want to throw out, right? Like we're breaking generational curses without understanding what that generational trauma was, which circles us all the way back to the importance of therapy, having a safe space, a confidential space to unpack, right? Because again, from the outside looking in, walking in a marriage and walking back out, somebody is saying, right? Like you should have stayed in it because our ancestors were married for 50. But Uncle Charlie, like you said, was in the basement and right? Like, no, I'm breaking generational curses. So right? Like, circle this thing back around to talk about the importance of really understanding what those generational traumas were that we're really trying to break.
And we got to tell the truth. We're not telling the truth to ourselves. We got to tell the truth.
That's the number one problem, is that we don't tell the truth.
No, we don't. We don't tell the truth.
We tell people what they think we want them to hear. We tell people what we want them to have an idea of who we are. We want to give this persona of I'm so and so, and you could be so and so, but we all have some hurt from somewhere. And I'm not saying that you got to run and tell everybody every single hurt, but if it's stopping you from sleeping well, moving forward well in a relationship with yourself or anyone else, if it's not allowing you to grow, it's time to let someone help you unpack it.
Yeah.
All right. Those things are not for white people. They're not for rich. They're not for, because you have Jesus, you can't have a therapist. I believe in Jesus, and I am a therapist, right? In the Bible, people were given jobs, right? So if you could be a carpenter and still spread the word of God, I could be a therapist.
Right? Yeah, right. Like the word is clear.
Yeah.
Go see a physician, right?
Yeah.
Like, and God is the ultimate healer, and recognize that, right? Like we still need to at times go seek a physician.
And that's like the story, and I'm not gonna tell it because I'll mess it up, but where God said, but I sent everybody in the boat and you passed. One of them people in the boat was a therapist, y'all.
Right? Or your podiatrist, or
right?
somebody you needed. Yeah.
I cannot let us get off the topic of self-care. And you mentioned it. When we talk about self-care, we got to talk about finances and why that's so important. And I often tell clients and just people in workshops, like, setting an efficient and effective budget is a form of self-care. Because Absolutely. If you don't, you don't know how many times I've talked to people and they say, oh, I have, $25,000 in credit card debt or $15,000 in credit card debt, and it's a knot in my stomach and I can't sleep at night, or now I'm working all of this overtime just trying to make a minimum payment on this thing. Can you just speak to that? Maybe they can hear from somebody else.
So the definition of self-care means taking time to do things that will help you live well and improve your physical and mental health. How many people have realized when it's time for your check to be deposited in your account, or you pick up however you get your finances, and you have to sit down at the table and start thinking about who's getting the biggest chunk? Is it mortgage or rent? Is it car note? And you feel a knot in your stomach, or you start to get a headache, or you start sweating, or you start to feel uncomfortable, that's because you're not taking the time, or you need to give yourself more time to understand your finances and how to have, like you said, a great budget. So every month you're not stressing out trying to figure out, am I paying DTE or Verizon this month? Which one am I doing? I can't do both. I got to balance it. But when you have a budget, when you go to a Crystal Gun and sit down like, hey, I need some assistance with this budget, that's one less stress off of you, right? And as we talk about self-care, part of it is alleviating and reducing your stress, because stress causes other problems physically in the body. So our goal is long living.
Right. And again, I know we're running up on, and what Crystal opened the door to is some of these conversations, right? Like we're embarrassed to have. I'm embarrassed to go to therapy and expose the truth. I'm embarrassed to go to a financial planner and allow them to see how I've poorly handled my finances that led me into this situation. So you would rather continue to sit in the misery of those choices as opposed to being vulnerable enough
to walk through the doors to get the help. How many times people have said, well, let me clean it up first. you can't clean it up, because if you could have cleaned it up, it would have already been clean. So, and it goes back to, you got to give yourself some grace.
Right.
Absolutely. Grace is that word that gives you the understanding of, I'm okay if I'm not 100%. I'm okay
And
if
let's
I'm
be
70.
clear, there's nobody
Right. Right.
that's 100%.
Right.
Right?
Right. Like, yeah,
No.
this dominant culture value of perfectionism that they put in front of us to chase. And
Mhm.
again, they keep moving it anyway. Even if
Correct.
we got close to what we thought was perfect, they're going to move it anyway.
They're
Right.
going to keep moving it, right?
Correct.
So, what focusing on what is my 100%, not what the media says, not what TikTok says, not what my doctor says. What is my one? Okay, so I can't do 50 push-ups, but I'm gonna do these two, and I'm gonna stick to doing these two because it's better than the zero I was doing
For sure.
before. So at least I'm gonna give myself some grace that I'm making an effort to change me. I'm making an effort to for the betterment of me, physically, mentally, financially, emotionally, spiritually. All of these things are essence of you.
Yeah.
Getting your nails done is great, but I've seen a lot of pretty nails in caskets,
Oh God.
Oh boy.
right? So that's maintenance. I want us to start thinking about, how do I feel today? If I could ask the viewers to just one time this month wake up in the morning and say, as you look in the mirror, that I love you or I love me, start seeing how that helps you or facilitates a greater self, a feeling of self. Do you really love you? And if you don't, that's okay. Let's learn how to get there. Forgiving yourself, that's self care. Reminding you that you're great is self care. Making a plan to get your finances in order is self care. Going to go have a wonderful workout with Michelle D. Harper is a part of self care, right? These going to see a therapist, Miss Kelly, or anyone else that you feel like you can connect with, and please go to a therapist that you connect with. Do not choose a doctor, a restaurant, a therapist
Right.
that does not make you feel good
Yeah.
and does not make you feel comforting that you're in the right care. Be choosy.
And so as we begin to bring this conversation to close, I take a step back and create a path to the end of this conversation with what Crystal brought up. And that really is us understanding that if we could do it on our own, it would already be done.
Yeah.
And check the track record of how much messier it's been getting while you've been afraid to ask for the help because you can't do it for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll put tennis shoes in this thing. I need a housekeeper to come to my house because I don't have the time, but I need to clean up before they get here.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't found the time to do the cleanup for them to get here. And
Right.
it's messier 2 weeks later than it was 2 weeks ago when I should have just called them in and be vulnerable enough to allow them to see the shoes on the floor, the coat on the back of the chair, to get the help that I need to clear the path that I can practice self-care and not just maintenance.
It's interesting that you even use that analogy because I have a friend who has a cleaning company, and she says they absolutely don't want you to try to clean up before they get there. And I say the same thing about the finances. Don't try to clean up because you're going to do something to harm it as opposed to fixing it. So,
Right. Stop talking to your girlfriends. They're not your therapists. Go to the right folks for the right thing. Girl talk is great.
It's great.
It has
So,
its
as we
place.
said, grace, vulnerability, honesty, transparency are four of the biggest words that I've gleaned from what we've talked about today. All of those things will help us get to a better place for ourselves.
Awesome. Facebook, thank you for hanging out with us. We're over a
yeah.
little bit because technology didn't want us to be great. But Crystal said some amazing things were going to happen despite what technology did. And I believe we delivered on that process, on that promise. Erica, how can people find you?
You can find me at www.evolutioncounselingandconsulting.com. I'm also on Instagram at Evolution Counseling, or you can reach me at 313-231-7817, which is Evolution Counseling and Consulting. And don't be afraid to reach out. If you don't even know what to say, like I'm calling you and I don't know why or what to do, let's figure it out together. I'm there to help you.
Awesome.
Give that number one more time. So
it's 313-231-7817.
Absolutely another wonderful conversation that I think continues to push the needle for Black women owning, honoring, and executing their amazing. I'm grateful. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you.
I'm grateful for the free therapy. Just
Yeah, I
saying.
know.
I'm just saying.
It's been 2 weeks in a row.
I'm just saying. I'm here for it.
It is absolutely a wonderful thing. And please find Amazing Women Speak on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Spotify, and Roku. It's no reason why you can't tap in and get this information. As I always say, specifically go to YouTube and look at the look at the topics and find the 1 or 10 that speak to your soul and watch them. I guarantee you, you will absolutely, positively be blessed. Miss Erica Kelly, thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank
I
you for the opportunity.
Your candor, and I know it's going to take me all of tomorrow to pull out the clips that I like to push because you've dropped
so many
gems.
So many.
Oh my God, this time it's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am Crystal Gunn. I am a Black woman, and I own my amazing. Shell.
Crystal, I leave this show every week, again, needing to thank you for the obedience that you continue to display, for the assignment God put on your life to create a platform where we get to uplift Black women, where we get to share stories, we get to laugh, we get to cry. You continue to do that without apology, and I'm grateful to your obedience and grateful again to be able to share this platform with you. I get better every week with these conversations. There are nuggets for each and every one of us, and I'm blessed that I get to pick them up sitting next to you. So thank you, Crystal. My name is Michelle Harper. I am a Black woman, and without apology, I will forever own my amazing because it was established at birth. Erica.
I would like to say thank you from the deepest part of my heart, because I value you two ladies being a pillar in understanding and supporting us as Black women. I value and will continue to support you as best that I can. If there's anything that I could do, please let me know. Thank you for having me. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for trusting me with your viewers. I appreciate that. I am Erica Kelly, and I'm a Black woman, and I own my own amazing. Thank you.
So we will see you next week, but I have a question because I definitely want you to tap in. Okay. Did you know that the average house has 30,000 items in it? That's a whole, I know, right? That's a whole, wait, and I know.
Are you coming for my Christmas gift? Like, are you coming for my decorations? I just need to know. Help me get ready, because all 30,000 of mine are in totes, waiting for November 24th to get here. I'm just saying.
I'm not. I promise you, I'm not coming.
Exposed and judged right now.
I know, so as I said it, that you were going to think about some Christmas decorations, because literally, yeah. But why do we have so many things? And that's really going to be the topic of next week, where it's things, and more things, and what having not the Christmas decorations, but all of those other things do to us. So definitely join us next week at 7 p.m. Thank you all, and we will see you later.
Thank you.
Oh, man.